Today on the Servant Leadership Podcast, we hear from Horst Schulze as he shares about excellence and caring for those who you serve. Horst is both a legend and leader in the hospitality world. Horst is the CEO of the Capella Hotel Group and was president of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. Horst has elevated the conversation around customer service and has helped reshape standards of excellence in the service industry globally. Under his leadership, the Ritz-Carlton Group won many awards, including the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award twice. Horst currently serves on various boards and acts as a consultant across many industries. In his book, Excellence Wins, he shares practical stories that have driven his immense global success. Horst has been extremely helpful for us at Project World Impact, and I look forward to having him share today about what it takes to serve with excellence, win, and to become a better servant leader. Horst, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you.
I'm so excited for our audience to hear your story because it's been so impactful on my life. Share a little bit of history of who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm, if you will, professionally, I'm a hotel guy, but not a hotel business anymore, because I'm emphasizing that because most people, when I talk about know me about having started Ritz-Carlton or Capella Hotel Company and expect from me to talk up whatever I'm talking, it's hotel. No, it's not. It's life. It's any business. I'm in the hospitality business, but I believe, for example, that a hardware store is in hospitality. A bank is in hospitality. Everybody is. When you deal with people, you're in a hospitality world. So I don't try to teach anybody hospitality. But who am I? I come from a small village in Germany. I left home. That's kind of pertinent. When I was 14, to live in a hotel, in a dorm room, 100 plus kilometers away from home. So I'm on my own since I'm 14 and learned the business, my business, and life luckily from a lot of good people. For example, and then I give that a key because it is a key part of my life. The first day I started working in that hotel, I met the general manager who said, "You are here to learn to become a servant to very important ladies and gentlemen, our guest." That's what I wanted, mind you. And that's the only time he ever talked to me. But the message that you, the employees of the hotel, are servants to very important ladies and gentlemen was there all the time, that message. But the maitre d' of the hotel, the head waiter of the hotel, who I reported to, also spoke to me that same day, and with 2 sentences changed my life. And he said, "All right, young man, tomorrow, show up at 7 a.m. If I meant 1 minute after 7, I would tell you so." So he established in one sentence. Now, mind you, I didn't get that at the time. It went over my head. So I was 14 years old. But he established discipline, control, doing the right thing. When we say something, we mean it in one sentence. And then he said, the second sentence, he said, "And don't come to work tomorrow. Come here to create excellence in what you're doing." Now, that I didn't get at all, because excellence, how can washing dishes and cleaning floors, etc., be excellent? Because I knew that's what I was going to do the next day. I learned over the next 3.5 years with that particularly unusual human being that anything you do with a higher intent. You make decisions for a higher intent. You don't just do things in life. You don't just fulfill functions. I always say, and he said, I got it from him, the chair is fulfilling a function. You're a human being. You have you should have the purpose of higher intent in what you're doing. So that filled my life. From there on, I worked in the hotel business, and of course, in the finest hotels in Europe. I worked in the US and for Hilton, Hyatt, and so on. And then finally started a new hotel company, was the operational starter, the operational person that ran and created the first Ritz-Carlton hotel company. Not the first Ritz-Carlton, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company, because there was a Ritz here and there. There was a Ritz in Paris, there was a Ritz in London, and so on. And we got that name, and we created a new hotel company. And after I ran that company and brought it from 0 hotels to being in 5 continents, and being the leader in every location where we were around the world, I then finally retired after nearly 20 years. And on a Friday and a Monday, I said to my wife, I'm going to start a new hotel company. And that really annoyed her. Yeah, I had been traveling 250 days a year, mind you. She said, "You're outrageous. How dare you?" But my wife, she said, what a lady. She came to me a few days later and said, "That's who you are. I'll support you. But don't do it as crazy as you did before." So I started a new hotel company, which is called Capella. I sold it 3 years ago, but it is now rated #1 in the world, as Ritz-Carlton was the last 13, 14 years that I was leading it. And now it is Capella, the #1. And in fact, I'm leaving tomorrow for Singapore to see a Capella, and then I go to Bali to see an old Ritz-Carlton.
Wow. So this concept of excellence, this concept of servant leadership, how did you see it play out throughout your career? Either direction.
Servant leadership is an interesting word. What does it really mean? We are here to care for the people whom we serve. And let me break down that word service to start with. And people, and I talk to a lot of people who, and mind you, I'm working in consulting and advising and speaking to a lot of companies. I'm on the Washington Speakers Bureau and so on. Constantly get connected. And here I talked to a bank, and to a CEO of a bank, and said, "What industry are you in?" And he says, "Well, obviously we're in the service industry." So I asked him, "What is service? Define it for me." And he can't. And everybody talks about he can't. Well, what is service? Service starts the instant you make contact with a customer or with anyone. That instant. It doesn't start a half a second later. So it should start with a great greeting. Welcome, good morning. A greeting that recognizes the other person. That's the beginning of service. I'm honoring you. Good morning, sir. How are you today? Instead of saying, "Hey." If I say, "Hey," I'm going to say, "Hey, we're equal," and you'd mean nothing to me. But if I say, "Good morning, welcome," if I'm in the hotel, or "Good morning, how are you?" I am immediately serving that person as a human being. I'm recognizing that as an important human being, as somebody I respect. And of course, at the same time, I express at work that I am professional, that you can trust me. I am nothing. And the next step right after the greeting, it's to be there for their need, and that is serving. I am now here. If I'm in a business, if I run a hardware store or whatever, once you come in and I greet you, or the bank or in a hotel, or it doesn't matter, or I'm selling cars, it doesn't matter. I'm now next here to help you make the best decision about relative to what I'm doing. I'm going to help you. I'm here to, it's about you. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about you. So that's the second step of service, and that is servant leadership. That's it. And then, of course, next, farewell. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. So those are the 3 stages of service: welcome, comply to the needs, and farewell. And if I do that with you in mind, and with the intent that when I'm finished with myself to you, that you actually want to come back and want to recommend me. That's the intent. That has to be the absolute intent of any serving customer contact, that I'm going to convince you that you want to come back because I'm here to help. High intent. Excellence in everything that we want to accomplish is not an accident. Excellence is the result of high intent, a decision of high intent and hard work.
Why is it so hard for people?
But it's a question. It's insecurities, is our emotions, which we have to understand. We're full of emotions and egos and stuff and so on. It's all we are made up of it. But I have to understand that that is so. Once I understand that is so, that I'm dealing with human being with those emotions, and I am, and here's the market, and each one has that emotion in the market. Here is my employees and I, and we have that. Now I'm going to bring that together in a positive way, and that is leading people in a positive. Now, managing is to create the processes of work, but leading is to make sure that people buy in and understand them that we're here to relate to other people. And leading is that my employees want to do the job and not have to do the job.
It must be repeatable because you've been able to do it business after business and help companies after company.
Yeah, well, I had no choice. I can say, yes, I can run my hotel by walking around, by being present, by constantly correcting. I can teach what's happening in that one hotel. But it has to be transferable. Very good observation. How I'm going to make sure, though, that my doorman in Shanghai is nice to the guests, just as it is in my hotel that I'm running myself. And at the same time, the bellman in Berlin and the busboy in Jakarta, etc., etc. So it has to be transferable. And for that, you have to create processes. Now, our simple process for that, in conversation here, we said, okay, it's human beings. Now, what's the process so that when you walk in a Ritz-Carlton in Chile or in Osaka or in Berlin or in Philadelphia, you feel that you are in a Ritz-Carlton, even though they may look totally different. So we made sure that our selection of employees was the process of selecting employees was the same in every location. The process of orientation of employees, the process of training the function, and the process of sustaining the behavior and attitude of the employees was the same in each hotel. So consequently, every day in every hotel around the world, before every shift, the same discussion took place. Very systemically and very relaxed and very common sense. So consequently, in every hotel around the world, the same conversation took place. And consequently, the same culture existed.
Wow. Culture building is so hard. I mean, from the ground up, obviously you've helped other companies build cultures in their companies as well. How do you go about helping people outside the Ritz-Carlton, Capella Group? How do you help other companies do that?
Well, in fact, I'm leaving tomorrow. Yesterday, I worked with a major company here in Atlanta. Tomorrow, Saturday evening, I'm flying out to Singapore, where I work with a company for 2 days, and then I go for 3 days to Bali and work with another company on the same stuff. So it's kind of fascinating. Well, let's understand what really is culture. Culture is the overall belief of the organization, the belief that permeates the organization from the top to the bottom. That is the culture. And so the culture can be created, contrary to what people say and so on. So what does the leader believe? If that is a secret, and in most companies it is a secret as to what the leader believes, so you don't have a culture. So the culture is whatever it is that day, the mood, whatever is the mood of the moment is the culture. That's not very good. But the culture has to be a high intent belief again of the organization, which comes from the top and permeates the organization. I have to work with my direct report and be sure that we have the common beliefs. I should have in my direct report an intrapersonal relationship where we develop our belief. For example, we develop, just one example, we develop together the vision of the company. So, like Ritz-Carlton, my vision was this has to be, I want to only join this company that had no hotels at the time, and I didn't need a job when they offered me a job. But they asked me to come to run the company and start this new company. As the operator, they were investors and developers. So I dreamt, I would do that if I can have the right to create the finest hotel company in the world. That was my dream. And they said, well, you run it. you decide. So I hired my first 2 people, and I said right away, don't join me unless you want to join me to build the finest hotel company in the world. Now I knew them. They laughed. They said, you must be kidding me. We don't even have a hotel. That's not it. That's the vision. So after they joined, so now let's sit down and make that the culture. But we cannot make the culture unless our vision is good for all. So we sat down, is our vision truly good for every investor? Not just saying yes, we actually put a T-chart together and looked at it. Next, is that vision good for every employee? Why? We wrote it down. Is that vision good for every guest? Yes. Is that vision truly good for the society as a whole? We all ended up to say yes. Now we had the foundation of a culture, a common objective, a common purpose of value to everybody. Now, frankly, that is, guys, I hope nobody misunderstands what I'm going to say now. I myself went away after that night and agonized, would God approve? I had to, for myself, I needed that answer too. And it was yes. Now, what happened here? We had an absolutely essential foundation for a culture. What is our future? Common future. Common belief we want to be the best. Understanding it's good for everybody. And it was all, but at the same time, it put me, the leader, in the corner, because I have no more right to compromise now. I have no more right. If I'm compromising what we just established, I'm going against the owners, I'm going against the employee, going against society. I'm not going. So it's very clear where I have to lead and what direction the culture has to go. So now that's one belief. Now we have to, based on this objective, we have to say, what will it take to be the best? What do we have to do different? And now I have to communicate that and make sure that it's clearly communicated and sustained, not just said one time, here's what we do. And so, no. Constantly talked about. So now we have a culture is developing in our overall belief because we constantly talk about it. So you have always done a culture where everybody said, we are here to be the best. We're here, and that's good for us. And that means we have to be nice to everybody. And we want to be nice because being the best gives us something, etc., etc. So this working on culture is finished. But how can you work on your culture? And I see it all the time. When you don't even have a vision where you're going to go. I don't see vision statements. I say mission statements a lot. And we are doing this and this and this very excellently. It's not a vision. That's a mission. Where will it take you? Who are you going to be in 15 years from now? And then they write something that they can be. No. What do you want to be? What is your dream? Is that dream good for all concerned? That's a vision. And that creates culture right there. That's the absolute. If you don't have that, how can you have a culture if you don't even know where you're going? And then you talk about leadership, mind you. Oh, leaders. So where you're going to lead? You don't know where you don't know where you lead. You lead, but you don't know where to. If you don't have a vision, you cannot lead without a vision.
You were probably one of the first people I ever heard talk about servant leadership and leadership in general. Before servant leadership was cool, before it was popular, before there was this great service mentality, how did you even come up with the framework around servant leadership?
Well, again, it really goes back to this way back Maitre D, Carl Zeidler, who was a very unusual being. He said, we're not here to serve food and beverage in the restaurant. Food and beverage, we're here to instill well-being. He had a higher intent, and we are here. And if somebody leaves this restaurant and doesn't feel well, we failed. Now that is servant leadership. That is serving. That you're there for the people, and that is applied here. I'm here for people in a high thought, not selfish for me. I'm not here to. He didn't do this to get a higher tip, and he got them, but that's not why he did it. He did it to make them feel well. That was his ultimate satisfaction when people really truly, what a great evening, what a wonderful evening we had. And he made it clear to me, and later in my consulting with people, and everybody knows nearly that I consulted with Chick-fil-A 30 some years ago. What a great company. And in fact, when I talked to the CEO at the time, Dan Cathy, I said, why do people really come to your restaurant and eat there? Because the food is good. That's not true. They come there. They go. If you sit in your office and say, where we going for lunch, where we going for dinner, what bank I deal with or whatever. Are you going to the place where the food was good? No, you go to the place where you felt good. That includes the food. That doesn't mean you can give lousy food. Yeah, but you go where you felt good in your memory, and that's the decision you make. So in the restaurant, it's not just the food. It's how do we make sure you feel good by respecting you. I spoke, it's just funny. I spoke to a great hotel group, all the great hotels of America, excuse me, owners and the general managers and so on were there. And before me was a lady spoke. She's running a great hotel, great resort, by the way. But she spoke about 30 minutes and said at least 20 times, forget everything that you knew about the business. Forget it all. Forget everything's new. Everything's new. That's where you make the reservation. That's how you check in. That's how you call the elevator. That's how you go in your room. Forget everything you knew. Forget everything you knew. I spoke next and I said, nothing is new. Because 5,000 years ago, people wanted to be respected. And last week, and this morning, and right now. And we are here to do with this, or with whatever we do, to show them that we care for them and respect them. It will never be new. The fundamental thing that you want to feel good dealing with me, if you know it or not, that I have to make you feel good dealing with me, no matter, even if I sell grass cutters, blowers, I don't care what. It doesn't matter. I should make you want to deal with me because I'm respecting you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to instill well-being in you. And if I respect you, you will like, by the way, there's this fantastic, relatively new study that was made of the American market. I mean, get this. This is so fantastic. 80% of the American market says, I will deal with you no matter what business if you care for me, even if I could buy the same product you have next door for less. Now think about that. With other words, caring, with other words, if you respect me, then I will be loyal to you. Why is that? And then people talk about customers loyalty and so on, and you can't just talk about it. You have to analyze it, understand it. Customer loyalty is nothing more than a developed trust. And trust is not accomplished with a product. And in a way, yes, if you keep on giving the same product over and over, then it's always perfect, trust will develop. But the trust is developed much by relationship. If I'm nice to you and respect you, you will start trusting me, consequently deal with me, because and you don't deal next door because you don't trust them, you don't know them. You come and you're willing to deal with me because you trust me, even if it pays even costs a little bit more. So that is all done by relationship, and the relationship is accomplished by and by trust, by feeling good. It's done by relationship. It's not by the product. You know, if you buy I always use bottle of water. And you buy a bottle of water, what do you expect? The same thing that you buy a house or a computer, everything. Subconsciously, you expect that the product is defect-free. That's expected. And you expect to have it timely. And finally, you expect that the people who give it to you are nice to you, no matter in what purchase. And it's the being nice that study shows drives the loyalty. Now, how do you accomplish that? By having the right culture of the organization. So that's what we're all about. We're not here about just giving them the bottle of water. No, we are here to make them feel well. Bang, you have a different culture and different approach.
You talk about both in your book when you're speaking and just as a leader, you've talked about the model of ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And one thing that I've learned from you is just the importance of empowering your people, right? To be able to be set up well, to serve well. What does empowering your people look like?
Yeah, well, I have to laugh at it because I'm thinking this moment when I made this huge empowerment decision, and it became, and I knew it would be a little bit controversial, but it was so controversial that it was like nuclear bombs went off in our office every day, and it wasn't that complicated a decision. What it became very clear, and here's what happened really. We did a lot of surveys and studies, okay, and we had a focus group going on anyway, and the guy that ran the focus group for us was a gentleman named Charles Cleveland. He passed away in the meantime. He was really the global experts of word analysis. He analyzed not what they say, what they really meant. Outstanding man, by the way. Anyway, we did a survey, and I said, by the way, since you added anyway, find something else out for me. What do they mean when they say, the guest, we want to feel at home in a hotel? What do they mean with that? And because I never understood it, at home, what does it mean being at home? What's the meaning in their mind? And he came back laughingly, said, hey, you study. They don't want to feel at home. They want to feel like in their subconscious memory, they remember their mother's home. So, wow, what is that? Well, when they opened the fridge, there was food that they liked. The grass was cut, didn't have to think who did it. And here was the key. When something went wrong, and as a kid, and they went to their mom and said, Mom, something terrible. What did mom do? Mom said, come here. Come, I take you in the arm. Come here. Mom never said, I called the manager when something went wrong. I said, wow. Yeah. And then I looked at some studies that showed when a guest complains and is not happy in any business, that about 96% of the time that a guest complains, is unhappy, expresses unhappiness, all they want is get rid of their frustration about the incident or the situation. They don't want anything. They're frustrated and want to tell something. And they tell the first person that will listen. So, wow. Now, having said that, I believe you cannot afford having somebody unhappy and leave unhappy, particularly today, because the unhappy customer today will become a terrorist against your company. You know, they go on the internet, they go in those things here, and they become terrorists against you. So I knew at the time, we didn't have that much, that my guest that would leave unhappy, and we don't accept his complaint, his frustration, that they will call their travel agent, and I will lose the travel agent. And I will lose that particular guest, and he will tell others. I didn't want to avoid that. So I said, wow, if they complain, how do I make sure we accept that complaint? Because we know those 96%, if they complain and it's accepted, it's gone. But if it don't accept it, it goes high, it spikes. We knew that. There were studies on that. So I said, what am I going to do? So I said, I'm going to empower everybody to take care of a complaint, no matter who gets it. So we went to a vice president meeting and discussed that, and they said, so how are we going to empower them? And I said, well, let's do it right. Up to $2,000 per an employee. No matter what, every employee has to make a decision with any complaint to make sure the guest leaves the hotel happy, and every employee has the right to make a decision up to $2,000. Well, you should have heard the explosion on that one. Oh my gosh, do you want the busboy to give away the money? No, I want the busboy to keep the customer. and now, frankly, I also knew that the lifetime customer, our average age of our customer was 43 years old. I knew they could travel 30 more years. They would be worth a lifetime about $200,000. I knew that too. So we empowered. And I thought, if I'm going to go and tell every employee around the world, I trust you up to make that decision up to $2,000. If you're a busboy or a waiter or the manager, I don't care. As long as you keep the customer. That's a major impact. It had a dramatically positive impact. It also had the impact that some owners of hotels want to sue me for mismanagement and so on. Yeah, okay. And it turned out fine. It turned out great. And that was empowerment to the ultimate. Why $2,000? Everybody asked me. I don't know. I pulled it out of the air. I didn't want to say $50, $100. I said, why not 2,000? Nobody gave away $2,000. Okay. But here comes that guest that maybe stayed in a suite and paid $1,000 at a time, which just means several thousand now. And he comes to the busboy, and then the busboy in the morning says, good morning, sir. I hope you have a nice stay with us. And the guest said, no, I didn't, because my TV didn't work. In that moment, we certified every employee around the world how to do that. Everybody was certified. That moment, that busboy said, please forgive me, sir. I'm so sorry about my TV. When that happens, the customer that complains feels embarrassed that they even complained. But we made it very sure. We taught everybody, you own the complaint. You own it, whatever you get. And then we taught them, I paraphrase, number 1, listen. Number 2, show empathy. Number 3, apologize. Number 4, make amends. And you have $2,000 to make amends. And so the busboy said, I'll buy you breakfast. And the guy said, no, this is no. So I feel so bad, I will buy you. You see, there is a guest that may have left the hotel calling their travel agents and said, this was bad. I lose the travel agent, or maybe the whole consortium of hundreds of travel agents. Instead, I have somebody leave who is an ambassador for our company. Only by buying breakfast.
Yeah, there's such power there. Creating ambassadors, you've made millions of ambassadors around the world, obviously becoming the #1 hotel brand multiple times over. What do you see as the importance of building ambassadors, and what other tips do you have for building ambassadors?
Well, we said it. Understand, we're not here to give them a piece. We're not there to just fulfill function. We're in there to instill well-being in them. If we understand that and show them the respect, as I said before, everybody wants to be respected, wants to be recognized. I don't care if it is the poor guy, and don't get confused now. And I see today's business people, particularly hotels, in this case, because I talk more to hotel people, okay? But everybody, you see, when we started Ritz-Carlton, luxury was chandeliers, marble, real art, and so on. The guest that arrived in a suit and a tie. And they wanted an arm's length relationship, generally, in that market. Today, the son of that guest arrives with blue jeans that have holes in them. And he says, in his demeanor, I'm a dude like you. I'm just another dude. Don't get fooled. That son needs more to be told, I respect you, than the father ever did. We know that. So you respect them. You treat them right. You give them, you show them, I'm happy that you're my guest and I respect you. Welcome. You still look at them and say, welcome. They'll say, hey. You still say with 10 feet, look them in the eye and show them that you're delighted that you have them there. That you would be delighted to serve them, to give them whatever they need, that you're there for them. You still do that. And they appreciate it, and they need it more than their father did. Don't get fooled by that. I want to push that in there because people are easily fooled. Oh, they're coming. They just want to stop it. And not true. We know that. And they have much higher demand. The father, by the way, interesting, I told before, the expectation in your mind when you buy anything is the product, the timeliness, and the caring. Those are the 3 expectations that you have subconsciously. For instance, the timeliness, the father, we knew 40 years ago that when the father or the mother, it doesn't matter. I mean, don't anybody call he, she, okay, all this baloney. When the guest arrived, okay, in rush hour in our hotels, we knew if they didn't wait longer than 4 minutes to check in, they were fine. Over 4 minutes, they got annoyed. So we played our tricks, and 2 minutes in waiting, we came out with cookies and a soft drink and talked to them so they wouldn't notice that it was over 4 minutes. But 4 minutes, they got annoyed. The son gets annoyed after 20 seconds. Timeliness is different, has become different. And that's how much more demanding in everything the son really is. And if you give it to them and let yourself not be fooled, and the individualization is much higher in the son or daughter, doesn't matter. The need of individualization, because you guys, millennials, you have 2 things that are different. The one thing you say is, do it my way. And the other thing, you question, what's in it for me? Well, as an employee, you have to tell them what's in it for them. If we are accomplishing to be the best in the world, here's how you will benefit. And just do it. So, for example, and they do it my way. It's very important because, for example, if I go to a McDonald's, I would order number 1. The millennial says, I have a number 1, but no tomatoes, 2 slices of pickles, no mayonnaise, and blah, blah, blah. Individualization. In that individualization, demand is very high in everything that the millennials want, and Gen X even more so. So we know your business, you should know, everybody, that the individuality demand will go up for the next 20 years for sure. So if you're in any business, you have to say, how can I tweak my business so that it can respond individually to the service? And that is also that was, of course, also part of the empowerment. You can respond to the individual. I let you do it. You don't. It's not about us. It's about them.
That's amazing. So throughout this journey, obviously so many people have asked you about service, servant leadership, excellence, and you came out with a book. How'd you make that decision to come out with a book and start touring and speaking?
Well, okay, I can tell you that. I mean, through a wonderful, wonderful human being, and most of you know him. And then there was Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey and I when we started very early, he happened to be a guest, and he talked about a lot. And one day he was talking about this company, this hotel, and everything was. I saw a video. Everything was so great. Now telling us the hotel that they found was True North, and I realized it's our hotel. And I said by myself, please mention our name, please, and he didn't. So I sent him a letter and said I saw it. I'm very honored that he felt good in our hotel, but I was disappointed he didn't mention our name. He called me and said, I'm coming to Atlanta, let's have breakfast. We met for breakfast and we became friends. I went a number of times to his roundtable discussions and so on. And we kept on communicating a lot, and he kept on saying, what you have done must be written in a book so other people will learn it. And the simplicity of it, the common sense, the humanity of it, that's his words, but I'm not stressing what I'm. And he kept on pushing me, and I said, yeah, I write a book, and I write a book. One day, and that went on for a few years. One day I drove home one evening, the telephone rang in the car, and I answered my telephone. And he said, and there was the typical voice of Stephen Covey, Horst, I am disappointed in you. That's how I spoke. Oh, Stephen, nice to hear your voice. How are you? Why are you disappointed in me? You still haven't written your book. You owe it to write your book. And I said, I tell you what, Steve, I started taking notes. I will write the book. And soon later, Stephen died. And I had not written a word since our conversation. And I felt very bad. And I went home. When I got the notice of his death, I went home and started writing the book. Okay, that's why I wrote it, and to share it, because he had urged me so much. And I didn't want to, I hesitated because I read business books, starting usually with excitement, and after about 1/3, I put them away because I'm bored to death. And I thought myself, I have to write a business book in stories. And that's what I try to do. I try to put myself in the mind of a young person who reads it, and I want that young person to finish reading it. And that's why I read it as a story, my story, and put the business in there. And that's why I wrote it the way I wrote it. And I'm very thankful how successful it became. And like your organization, so many organizations use it as a guideline. I had one call where a business CEO of a large company called me and he said, I cannot believe what happened with your book. Somebody gave me your book when I went into the plane in Miami. And I got bored and I pulled it out. I didn't plan to read it, but I started reading. I finished it in the plane. And I just ordered 5,000 for all my employees. That's how it's sold. It's sold only by people reading it and then buying it for the company. In the stores, it didn't sell. Why would anybody pick a book with my picture on it? It would be ridiculous. But so many people, several that bought 3,000, 2,000, 1,000 in hundreds and so on. So it's sold that way very, very strongly, and getting and fascinating. It's just fascinating. Like you said, you built your company somewhat around it. I had a guy call me from Rome, Italy, with an Italian accent and said, "I read your book. I have a law firm. We wanted to know we all live by your book now." Wow. I mean, what an honor. What an honor. What an honor. It's just, and I try to make it, and it was not written for hotels, mind you. It was written for business, any leadership.
Wow. This has been amazing. I have 10 rapid fire questions that I want to ask you. And you just say the first.
I can't think that fast. Okay.
You just say the first thing that comes to your mind, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Sure.
But who's the first person you think of when I say the word servant leadership?
Jesus. Sorry.
Love it. 5 words that most describe yourself.
Intense. Impatient. Intense. Impatient. Little arrogant.
All right.
But hardworking and really loving.
Love that.
In love. I'm 45 years married, still in love with my wife. So just so you know.
Love that. Who's your favorite author, or what's your favorite book? Either way.
Aristotle.
Favorite.
Oh, and modern Metaxas. The way he tells story about people that were thinking different than other people.
Yeah, Bonhoeffer was a great book. Yeah.
Bonhoeffer. Oh, Bonhoeffer's great book. There again, think about it. There was a guy who was thinking different than society did. That is so exciting. What Metaxas writes about Wilberforce, Bonhoeffer, Luther, and so on. All people who were thinking totally different than society was thinking at the time. Very fascinating.
Favorite movie?
Or Death Poor Society.
Favorite food?
Everything. I just was in Tokyo and went to see Ono Chiro, who is. They wrote about I Dream of Sushi, the movie, and he is 98 years old. No, 89 years old. I'm sorry, nearly 100, and is the #1 sushi maker in the world. Wow, what an experience. Was on my bucket list, so I had to do that.
Love that. Favorite thing to do in your free time?
Or be with my wife, no question about it. Be wife, communicate, read together, walk together, think together, analyze together. Oh, but I like fishing. I like all kind of other things too. But hey, nothing better to have this sensational relationship of marriage. Marriage is the greatest thing in the world. But you have to work on it like everything else, buddy.
Surprising fact about you.
Oh, I'm nothing. I don't know what surprising couldn't be. But the one thing that I have in my book, and you have to understand that maybe not known. Well, the first surprising fact: I'm married 45 years and still in love with the same woman. I have 4 daughters. Beautiful, and it's just great girls. Wonderful. The other facts. I'm a cancer survivor. So is my daughter. So is my wife. We all had cancer, and I was given 10 months to a year, 28 years ago. And that is, and of course, I put that on the end into my book. Why did I put it into my book? Because I felt, since I told stories around me in the business, if I don't say that, I'm nearly lying and keeping something out. So I had to kind of express that experience, because it's another experience that you have to, that is life. Work is life. But if I would have taken that out, I would have said, I'm dismissed. So on the end, I said, I have to tell that story too.
Thanks for sharing that. Favorite place you've ever been?
Well, it is favorite place that I to go to now, my wife is, that's my favorite place. I travel still crazy amount. As I said, tomorrow I'm going to Singapore and so on. But it's still home. It's the most wonderful place. We also have a home in Germany, still in the village where I grew up. I could name that too. We're going to spend the summer there. And because on the end, I'm the boy from that little village.
Is there anywhere in the world that you want to go that you haven't been to?
Yeah, Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And last rapid fire question. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Well, from that Major D at the very beginning, don't go to work. Never. Because working, and guys, please hear that. Please. I wish all young people hear that. Working is a function. We have to function on something. The chair on which you're sitting is functioning too. We should function for higher intents. Don't sentence yourself to be a chair. Have a higher intent in what you're doing in life. Doesn't matter what it is. I came to a conclusion when I was 16 and I wrote a story that I called, for my school, I wrote an essay and I said, we are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a servant. I'm a gentleman serving ladies and gentlemen. I was thinking then of my Major D, who when he approached the table, mind you, I was told we're here to servants to important ladies and gentlemen. I saw him approach the table at that time. I was 16, and I realized the guests were proud that he came to them. And I was contemplating as to why, before I wrote my essay for the hotel school where I went once a week. And I realized they were proud because he had defined himself as a gentleman. In that moment, the first time I realized that I define myself. It's not society, it's not the world, it's not the people around me. I define myself. Even if I realized that day something very important for me, that even if I was a dishwasher for the rest of my life, I still can define myself as a fine gentleman. It's still in me, if I have a high intent in what I'm doing in life. And I can only tell, I hope young people listen, define yourselves. Don't work, define yourself constantly. Don't sentence yourself to be a chair or a thing. You're a human being that does things not just like a function, but with a higher intent, excellence.
Wow. Horst, this has been an honor to have you. I'm so excited for everyone in the world to be able to listen to takeaways from you. And I'm going to encourage them, obviously, to buy your book and go listen to more talks from you. But thank you for being with us.
Chris, delighted to be with you. All the best to you. I wish you great luck with your podcast. I hope it works out. And I know you will serve a lot of people well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Servant Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss an update. Be sure to check out the servantleadershippodcast.org for more updates and additional bonus content.